even in South America, Paraguay, from 2 days prior to the Rally of Hope, they were already into the live broadcasting mood and atmosphere, running interviews and etc. to really prepare. And this is how much we can see how the 6 rallies of hope and how our vision for a heavenly unified world is really conveying this new message of hope at a time when many feel a lot of despair and disappointment and sadness. And this also shows, this brings together the attention and interest of peace-loving citizens around the world. So anyways, everyone, to congratulate this Rally of Hope, we will be now holding our first peace performance, but we've actually invited very special guests to celebrate this Rally of Hope for Heavenly Unified Korea. These are actually renowned Korean kind of traditional vocalist, a singer, Nam Sang-il, and a traditional Korean instrument band called Gugak Band. And so this group, actually, Nam Sang-il and the band, have devoted themselves to spreading the spirit and the sound of Korea to the world. And so they've played such everyone, let us all welcome Korean vocalist Nam Sang-il and the Gugak Band, everyone, with a warm round of applause.
어서 가자 배띄워라 동서남북 바람 불 때 언제나 기다리나 수직고 다리더니 이때가 아니더냐 배띄워라 배띄워라 아이야 번입내야 배띄워서 어서 가자 바람이 없으면 노를 젓고 바람이 불면 돛을 올려라 강 건너 던진매들 앉아서 기다리랴 그리워 서럽다고 울만 하냐 어서 가자 동서남북 바람 불 때 언제나 기다리나 수리고 다리더니 번님네야 띄워서 어서 가자 바람이 없으면 노를 젓고 바람이 불면 돛을 올려라 강 건너 번님네들 앉아서 기다리랴 그리워 서로 없다고 울기만 하랴 햇띄워라 햇띄워라
네, 반갑습니다. 저는 국악인 남상일입니다.
Hello
다시 한번
everyone, I am
인사드리겠습니다.
traditional singer Namsang-il and I greet you all.
네, 핑크탱크 2022
I really sincerely congratulate you on the rally. I'm truly honored to be able to sing at this Think Tank 2022 Rally of Hope. And through this very meaningful event, I really hope that this can become a cornerstone for the unification of Korea, and that based on that, peace can truly come also around the world, that the whole world can be completely connected now without any blocking barriers. So I really hope that all distinguished leaders here can also always be safe and in good health and always in happiness and joy. And with this, I sang the song The Boat of Hope. I hope you liked it all, everyone.
네, 이 자리는
So
제가 개인적으로
this
생각하건데
occasion today felt more than a solemn kind of type of occasion. I really felt it is an occasion full of hope with and this strong longing for the unification of Korea. So I thought of it more of a festive kind of occasion for a heavenly unified Korea. So it is with that kind of desire as well as a desire to have peace all around the world. I will be singing for you Holo Arirang, which will be a song that many will probably be familiar with. So feel free to join along and sing the song Holo Arirang, everyone. Thank you.
외로운 손 오늘도 거센 바람 불어오겠지 조그만 얼굴로 바람 맞으니 독도 야간 밤에 잘 잤느냐 손잡고 제목으로 해요.
beginning from the rally of 2022. May peace, the peace wind blow across Korea and the whole world.
부산 두만 강에서 배 타고 떠나라. 한라산 제주에서 배 타고 가자. 하나가 천정궁에 닻을 내리고 또는 아침에는 아니겠나.
너무도 멋지고 그리고 감동적인
Everyone,
공연을
let
우리
us give
선사해준
again
남상희 씨, 우리
singer
국악
Nam
밴드에게
Sang-il
다시 한번 여러분
and the Gugak
큰
Band
감사의
one more
박수를
round of
보내주시면
applause
좋겠습니다.
for their amazing and heart-moving performance.
두 곡의 노래를 통해 가지고요
They
정말
performed
신통일
two
세계를 향한
songs, and through those two songs, we could really feel that desire to launch that boat toward the heavenly unified Korea and go there toward that destination hand in hand.
지금 조금 전에도 이제 계속
So
저하고
just now, we're actually I'm receiving like texts on live with like different leaders from around the world, and as you all know, we also have Prime Minister Hun Sen of Cambodia. Actually, there's 2-hour gap between Korea and Cambodia. So though we began at 9 o'clock local time here in Korea, it was 7 a.m. in Cambodia. So even at the Cambodian palace, Prime Minister Hun Sen is actually with us at this very moment, attending with us this rally of hope. Everyone, please send a warm round of applause to Prime Minister Hun Sen.
Thank you for participation. 네, 감사합니다. 이제 싱크탱크 2022를 대표하는 해외 지도자들의
now we'll be
기조연설을 듣는
listening to
시간을
keynote
갖도록 하겠습니다.
speeches from leaders overseas representing Think Tank 2022. So the first keynote address will be delivered by His Excellency Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States. And as everyone knows, during his presidency, President Donald Trump made significant efforts to denuclearize North Korea and achieve peace on the Korean Peninsula. His 3 meetings with Kim Jong-un were a first in American history, and particularly after the meeting with Kim Jong-un in the DMZ in 2019, he became the first U.S. president to step on North Korean soil. And at that time, media headlines described President Trump's move as one of the most dynamic dramas of the 21st century. And the president in particular loved Washington Times, a conservative newspaper, so much that he said he was a true fan of the Washington Times. In addition, President Trump actively supports and praises Dr. Hak Ja-han-moon, the founder of the Washington Times, for her world-class peace movement and efforts to bring about peace on the Korean Peninsula and the world. And last year, when the United States was divided into progressives and conservatives due to the U.S. presidential election, and when the country became chaotic with division and conflict, Dr. Hak Ja-han-moon said to the American clergy, Christian clergy, forgive and become one. She also emphasized the need to return to the fundamental founding spirits of the United States blessed by heaven. So she also delivered this message to President Donald Trump. So ladies and gentlemen, please let us welcome President Donald Trump, who will now deliver us a priceless speech on heavenly unified Korea and the vision of peace.
It is a great and profound honor to address this 7th Rally of Hope and to speak to you today about a cause that is very close to my heart, the dream of peace and unity on the Korean Peninsula. I want to thank the Universal Peace Federation and in particular, Dr. Hawk Jahan Moon, a tremendous person, for her incredible work on behalf of peace all over the world. Her story of escaping from North Korea at 5 years old, at the outset of the Korean War, is an amazing example of the power of faith in Almighty God. I also want to thank her late husband, Reverend Moon, for founding the Washington Times, an organization for which I have tremendous respect and admiration. They have done an incredible job. I want to congratulate Dr. Moon on the launch of the new global initiative, Think Tank 2022, bringing together experts from around the world to focus on solving the conflict on the Korean Peninsula. As all of you know, the United States has a pivotal role to play in forging a lasting peace in Korea. One of my proudest accomplishments as president was to help create a new path toward a brighter future for all Koreans, North and South, a path by which the divisions and hardships of the past might one day be healed and really healed and to a level that nobody thought possible before, and the entire peninsula might achieve its true potential, which is incredible. When I came into office, this situation facing the world was very, very bleak. For decades, past leaders had failed to address the growing threat of conflict in that part of the globe. Former President Obama even told me that the situation on the Korean Peninsula was one of his biggest concerns in the entire world. Looking back today, it is easy to forget how dangerous the situation was when I was elected. Missiles were flying, nuclear weapons were being tested, and powerful threats were being issued every single day. As president, I knew that I could not simply sit by and wait for this problem to get worse. Every administration before me had failed, and that's why I was determined to pursue a different approach. Under my leadership, the United States adopted a policy of unprecedented strength, doing more than any prior administration to ensure that America and its allies could always protect our citizens. The United States took an unyielding stand militarily, diplomatically, and economically. We made it clear to all that we would never be threatened with nuclear weapons. And as many of you will remember, the rhetoric got very, very tough, nasty, and mean. Yet at the same time, from the very beginning, I always left the door open for engagement and dialogue. I knew that while any leader can wage war, it takes true courage to pursue a chance for peace. I believe that leaders should never be afraid to talk if there is an opportunity to create a better world for their people. Central to the bold diplomacy my administration pursued were our close partnerships with our allies, South Korea and Japan. President Moon and Prime Minister Abe both deserve enormous credit. They did a fantastic job. Together, over the 4 years, we made more progress than anyone thought possible. We passed several unprecedented and unanimous resolutions through the United Nations Security Council. We brought our hostages back home. So importantly, and I'll say it again, we brought our hostages back home. And we worked with North Korea to bring back the remains of our fallen heroes to American soil. In 2018, I became the first American president ever to sit down with the leader of North Korea when I met Chairman Kim Jong-un in Singapore. There, we established a productive relationship and we agreed to critical goal, and it was indeed a very critical goal, of complete denuclearization, the most important word that you'll ever hear. In 2019, I became the first American president to set foot in North Korea when we met again at the DMZ. Although it became clear in our second summit in Hanoi that North Korea was not yet ready to make a deal, I remain full of hope for the future. To this day, Chairman Kim has kept the promise he made to me in Singapore that there would be no more long-range missile launches or nuclear weapon testing. North Korea has not conducted a major weapons test since 2017. And for the sake of the entire world, I hope that continues. Over the past year and a half, a global pandemic has ravaged the planet. Sadly, the Korean Peninsula and many other places around the earth were hit very, very hard. The virus has caused immense suffering to all of our people. As we emerge from this pandemic that has tragically claimed so many lives, we pray that all sides can recognize that now is not the time for more conflict, but for cooperation. It is not the time for renewing hostilities. It is the time for replenishing hope. And it is not the time to be focused on building up our nuclear stockpiles, but to be focused on building up our nations to make a better and more beautiful world. I truly believe that an extraordinary future awaits the people of North Korea, and I have faith that if they pursue the path of denuclearization, they will make that future a magnificent reality. Until that blessed day comes, the indispensable force for peace on the Korean Peninsula remains a strong America. As we have seen recently in other parts of the world, weakness only invites more violence and chaos. The task for all of us who pray for peace on the Korean Peninsula is to ensure that our nations are not only great in power and rich in wealth, but even more, we must be strong in spirit. Every nation must summon the will to protect its citizens, its allies, and to leave a better future for our citizens. These are the forces and values that inspire change, that move countries, and make history that ultimately lead to peace. As I have argued many times before, if we want peace, we must have patriots. And we must honor the God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all nations and people everywhere. Over the last 4 years, my administration proved that there is no limit to the progress that can be achieved when the patriotic and peace-loving nations of the world stand proud, confident, and united on behalf of their people. 4 years ago, I had the great honor of visiting the city of Seoul and addressing the Korean National Assembly, and a great honor it was. As I told the people of South Korean Republic that day, and I will tell them again and anytime they want to hear it, what they have achieved on the peninsula is just amazing. In a few decades, the inspiration that they've caused for the entire planet is unbelievable. And I congratulate you again and again. In less than one lifetime, they took a war-torn land and turned it into one of the great nations and great democracies of the world while standing as America's friend and ally. Their example reminds all of us who strive for peace and for a better future that we should never give up and never, ever lose hope. With faith in God and love of our fellow citizens, let us work together to achieve a brighter and more brilliant tomorrow. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your dedication to peace on the Korean Peninsula and around the world. 여러분,
Ladies and gentlemen, let us express again our great gratitude with a thunderous round of applause to President Donald Trump for his precious speech. The next keynote speech will be given by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who served as the 90th, 96th, 97th, and 98th Japanese Prime Minister. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is a 9-term member of the House of Representatives, and he served as the 38th Secretary General of the Liberal Democratic Party, the 21st and 25th Party Presidents, and the 90th, 96th, 97th, and 98th Cabinet prime minister. He's one of the representative political leaders of modern Japan who led the longest regime in Japanese constitutional history. And Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, particularly in the second regime for about 7 years and 8 months, especially promoted economic policies known as Abenomics, centered on financial mitigation and broad strategy to stabilize the economy and society. And at the same time, he played a major role for Japan to be part of the development of a democratic international community that shared values such as freedom, basic human rights, and the rule of law by leading the free and open Indo-Pacific strategy and the Trans-Pacific Strategic Economic Partnership. His grandfather, Prime Minister Busuke, and his great-uncle, Prime Minister Eisaku Sato, were representative political leaders of the time who led the normalization of diplomatic relations between Korea and Japan in 1965. And his father, Shintaro Abe, known as Pro-Korea, served as the secretary of the LDP and the foreign minister. In other words, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is from a family representing Japanese politics. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will deliver a keynote speech today in support of Dr. Hak Chan-moon's and UPF Think Tank 22 objectives for unifying the Korean Peninsula. Everyone, let's welcome Prime Minister Shinzo Abe for a warm round of applause.
ご出席の皆様、日本国前内閣総
Good
理大臣
morning.
の安
I
倍
am
晋三
Shinzo
です
Abe, former Prime Minister
UPF の
of
主催の
Japan.
もと、より良い
It is an
世
honor
界
for me
実現
to
のため
speak
の
together with
対
my
話と
good friend,
諸問題の
former US
平和的
President
解決のた
Donald
め
Trump,
に、およ
at
そ
this Rally of Hope,
150カ国の国家首脳、
hosted by
国会議員、
UPF in the
宗
presence
教
of
指導者が
heads
集
of
う
state,
希望前進
parliamentarians,
大会で
and religious
世
leaders
界平和を共に
from
牽引してきた
150
盟
countries
友の
addressing
トランプ大
today's
統領と
problems
共に
and engaging
演
in
説する
dialogue
機会
on
を
how to
いただい
create
たことを
a
光
better
栄に思い
world.
ます。特にこの度出版したシンクタンク
My hopes and
2022
expectations
の
are
果たす
especially
役割は
high for
大き
Think
なもの
Tank
があると期待しております。
2022, which is set to be
今
launched
日に
this
至るま
time
で
to play a
UPF ととも
significant
に
role.
世界各地の
Today, in honoring
紛争の
Dr.
解
Hak
決、
Jahan Moon
とり
and
わけ
all of you,
朝鮮
I
半
would
島
like
の
to
平和的
express my
統一に向
profound
けて
thanks
努
for
力さ
your
れてきた
tireless efforts
反
through
ハクチャ総裁をは
UPF
じめ
in
皆様
resolving
に敬
disputes
意を表
in
し
the
ます。
world, especially in
さ
relation to the
て、
peaceful
未だ
reunification
収束の
of
見え
the
ない
Korean
コロナ禍
Peninsula,
の中ではあ
while
り
the
ますが、
Tokyo Olympics and
特
Paralympics
別
were
な
held amid
歴
the
史的意味
ongoing
を持つ
pandemic.
こととなった
They have become a
東京オリン
special
ピック・パ
historical
ラリンピック大
event
会を
and
多
were
くの感
safely
動とともに
concluded
無事
amid much
閉幕するこ
hope
とができました。
and inspiration.
ご支援いただいた世界中の人々
I
に
would like to take
感
this
謝したいと
opportunity to
思いま
thank
す。
everyone around
史
the
上
world for
初
their
の
support,
1年延期、
despite numerous
選手
hurdles,
村以外
including
外
an
出禁止、
unprecedented one-year
無観
delay.
客等
No
数
athletes
々の困難を
were allowed to go
超え
outside of
開
the
催でき
athletes'
た
village, and the
ア
games
スリー
were
トの
held
姿は
without
世界中の
spectators.
人々に勇気と
But then
感
seeing
動を与え、
athletes who attended
未来
the
へ
opening
の
gave the
明かりを
world
灯す
much
ことが
needed
で
strength
きたと
and
思います。
inspiration. And
そ
I
し
think
て
we lit a path
イデオ
for
ロ
the
ギー、
future,
宗教、民族、
sharing much
国家、
inspirational moment,
人種の違い
transcending
を超えて
ideology,
感
religion,
動を
ethnicity,
共有できたこ
nationality,
とは
and race,
世界中の人
enabled the
々が
world to
人間
once
として
again
の
realize
絆
the
を
bond
再
that
認識す
unites
る契機となったと
humankind.
信じます。コロナ禍に覆われる世界で
Globally,
不安が人々の
people
心を
are
覆い
experiencing
つつ
anxiety
あります。
over the COVID-19
で
pandemic.
全体主義国家
We
と
are
民主主義国
currently
家の
experiencing
優位性が
an
比較さ
abnormal
れる
situation
異常事態と
where
なって
people
おり
are
ます。
trying to decide
人
whether
間としての
totalitarian
絆は
states or democratic
強
states
制
are
されて
superior.
作られるべきではあ
Human
りません。
bonds can never be formed by
感動
love,
と共
by
感は
force.
自発的なものでなければなりません。
Inspiration and sympathy
人
must
と
be
人
voluntary,
との絆は
and the bond between
自由と
people
民
should
主
be
主義の
based on freedom
原則によって
and
支
democracy.
えられなければならないと信じます。一部の国が全体
Some
主義、
countries,
覇権主義
including
国家が
totalitarian
力
and
による
hegemonic regimes,
現状変更を行
are
おうとする
attempting to bring
策動
about
を
change
阻
by
止しなけれ
force.
ばなりません。
Political
私
maneuvering
は自由で開かれた
of this type
インド太平洋の実践を
must stop.
継続的に訴え続けました。そして今や米国の戦略
Thanks
と
to
な
my
り、
advocacy
欧
for
州
a
を含め
free
た
and open
世界の戦略と
Indo-Pacific,
なりました。
this strategy has been adopted
自由で
by
開か
the
れた
US,
インド
Europe,
太平洋
and the
戦略に
world
とって
at large.
台湾
For
海
a
峡の
free and open
平和と
Indo-Pacific
安定
strategy,
の維持
however,
は
the Taiwan
必須要件で
Strait
す。
must remain
日本、
peaceful
米国、
and stable.
台湾、韓国など
Thus,
自
the
由と
need for more
民主主義の価
solidarity
値を
between
共有する
countries
国々の
that share
さ
the
らなる
values
結
of
束が
freedom and
求められてお
democracy,
ります。
such as Japan, the United
UPF
States,
の
Taiwan,
平和ビジョン
and
において
South Korea, is more
家
pressing
庭の
than
価値
ever.
を強調す
I
る点を
appreciate
高
UPF's
く
focus
評価い
and
たします。
emphasis on family values.
世界人権宣言にある
As
ように
stated in the
家庭
Universal
は
Declaration
社
of
会の
Human Rights,
自
the
然か
family
つ
is the
基礎
natural
的
and
集団単
fundamental
位
group unit
としての
of society.
普遍的価値を持っているのです。
Let's be aware of
偏っ
so-called
た価値観
social
を
revolutionary
社会
movements
革命運動
with
として展
narrow-minded
開する動
values.
きに警戒しましょう。いつの時代も理想に
History
向かう
has
情熱
always
が
been moved by the
歴
great
史を
passion
動
for
かして
the
きました。
ideal throughout ages.
理想の前
Throughout
に
the
は常に
ages,
壁
an
があります。
ideal always finds
よ
itself
って
confronted by
戦いがある
barriers.
のです。
Obviously, a fight
情
will
熱を持っ
ensue,
て戦う人が
and it is
歴史を
passionate
動かしてき
fighters
ました。
that have changed and moved
自由
history.
と民主主義の価値を
We will
共有
need
する国々
passionate
の団結、
leaders
台湾
if we
海
are
峡
to
の
achieve
平和と
solidarity
安定
between
の維
countries
持、
sharing
そ
freedom
し
and
て
democracy.
朝鮮半島の
Maintain
平和的
peace
統一の実
and
現を
stability
成し遂げる
in the
ためには
Taiwan Strait
とてつもない
and
情熱を持っ
achieve
た人
peaceful
々による
unification
リーダーシッ
of
プ
the
が必要
Korean
です。
Peninsula.
この希望
These
前
rallies
進
of
大会
hope
が
will
大
give
き
us
な
much strength.
力を与えてくれると
Of this,
確信
I
い
am
たします。
confident.
ありがとうござい
Thank
ま
you
した。
very much.
安倍総理へ大変感動的な演説をしていただき誠にありがとうございます。関東とアジアの平和繁栄に対する議長の演説と
Prime Minister, thank you so much for your touching speech. Thank you very much for your valuable speech on peace and prosperity on the Korean Peninsula and Asia, and for your support for Think Tank 2020. Everyone, let us send a warm round of applause to former Prime Minister.
정말 트럼프 대통령과 함께 우리 아베 신조 수상께서
We
연설을
have just
해주심으로써
actually listened to keynote speeches from
신통일한국을
President
위한
Donald
일본과
Trump and
미국
Prime Minister
그리고
Shinzo
강력한 전
Abe.
세계 지지를 통해
And
오늘
through the
한학자
strong
총재님께서
support of
주창하시는
leaders around
그
the world
신통일한국의 모든
for
비전이
a
반드시
heavenly
이루어질
unified
것이라는
Korea, I
확신이
believe that this
들었습니다.
vision will
다음 세
definitely become a
번째
reality.
기조연설은
So now
유럽
we will be
대표의 호세 마누엘
listening to the
바로소
third keynote
제11대
address, which will be
유럽연합
delivered by Jose Manuel
집행위원장 겸
Barroso, the
포르투갈
11th
수상께서
president
해주시도록
of the
하겠습니다.
European
바로소
Commission
위원장은
and
지난
former Prime Minister
2004년부터
of Portugal. And
2014년까지 유럽연합
His Honorable
집행위원장
Barroso
그리고
served as
2002년부터
President of the European
2004년까지는
Commission from
포르투갈 수상을
2004 to
역임했습니다. 금년
2014, as well as
2021년에는
Prime Minister of
가비
Portugal from
세계
2002 to
백신 연합
2004.
이사장으로
And as of this
취임하여
year, he
전
became the
세계적으로
President of
만연해
the
있는
Global
코로나
Alliance
팬데믹
for
해결에
Vaccine
아주
and is
적극적으로 앞장서
actively
나가고
taking the
있습니다.
lead in resolving
바로소
the global
위원장은 한학자 총재님께서 창설하신
coronavirus
세계 평화
pandemic.
정상연합의
And as a
정식
member of the
회원이시고
International
신통일
Summit
세계
Council for
안착을
Peace
위한
founded by
제2회
Dr. Hak
그리고
Jahan Moon,
제5회
he delivered
희망전진대회에서
impactful
아주
keynote speeches
귀한
at the
연설을
second and the fifth
해주셨습니다.
rally
오늘
for
한
the
총재님께서
realization
주장하시고
of a heavenly unified world. And
매진하고
he will
계신
speak today
신통일한국의
about the
비전에
vision
대해
of a
아주
heavenly
멋지고 귀한
unified Korea
연설을 해주실
that Dr. Hak
예정입니다.
Jahan Moon
여러분,
advocates for and is
유럽연합
striving for.
집행위원장을
So
큰
everyone,
박수로
join me in welcoming
모셔주시면
His Honorable
좋겠습니다.
Barroso, 11th President of the European Commission, with a warm round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, the European Union is about peace. That's the reason why the European Union was created in the 50s of last century. It was certainly an economic organization, but with a clear political goal, peace. So it should come as no surprise that the European Union strongly supports Korean reunification and is in favor of reconciliation and denuclearization in the Korean Peninsula. The European Union has shown its consistent support to that process. The European Union believes it is important that the Republic of Korea engages with the DPRK so that it will be possible to make peace, reconciliation, and reunification of the peninsula. Speaking on my own behalf, and I want to make it clear that I'm speaking personally and no longer as representing my government, where I served for 12 years in different capacities, including foreign minister and prime minister, or representing the European Union, where I served in the European Commission for 2 mandates, 10 years. Speaking on my own behalf, let me share with you that I believe there is an imperative of hope for the Korean Peninsula. We know the difficulties, and there are certainly important difficulties and obstacles, but we know that there are also conditions to make progress now, provided there is goodwill on both sides. Public participation and cooperation should also form the basis of this open process. The Republic of Korea has given clear evidence of good faith and of its willingness to make progress towards cooperation and the escalation of tensions. It seems appropriate for the DPRK now to reciprocate, namely making some concrete and credible steps towards denuclearization. The peaceful reunification of the two Koreas and the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula are very important indeed, first of all, for the Koreans themselves, but also for the whole region and indeed for the global community. All these matters, denuclearization, reunification, peace and prosperity, are interlinked. And at the end, it's about reconciliation, true reconciliation. While other powers from the region or global powers may have a legitimate interest in this process because this process may affect regional and global peace, the reality is that it's upon the Koreans themselves that there is the responsibility to make this happen. When I visited some years ago as president of the European Commission, the DMZ, I could see the physical expression of that division. And that's why I want to reinforce that point. It's up to the Koreans themselves to show their sincere willingness and their commitment to reconciliation. Only through that process will there be conditions for the process to succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, in the history of international relations, there are several cases of division and reunification of countries. I'm not suggesting that Korea should follow this or that path. We know well that each case is a case. It's for the Koreans themselves to find a specific Korean way to achieve this peace and reconciliation. As it happens in any international conflict, there are internal causes and external conditions. What the global community can do, and I believe it should do even more, is to show strong support to facilitate through these external conditions, create the best external conditions for the Koreans themselves to find a way for true reconciliation and peace. So what should be done now? I believe in the short term, it's critically important to resume dialogue, to create confidence-building measures, and also, when the time comes, to have some summits between the leaders. And of course, we have to have in mind the medium and long term, where peace and reunification can only be achieved through this reconciliation and the denuclearization process. So we may also ask, is there hope? Is it really possible to have reunification? My answer is yes. I think it is possible. It may appear difficult, but it should be possible. As Nelson Mandela famously said, it always seems impossible until it's done. But how can we say that there is hope? Because there are some signs that it can be done. The very fact that this 7th Rally of Hope, under the overall theme, reunification of the Korean Peninsula, is taking place, and it is including the official launch of Think Tank 2022, it's a very encouraging signal because it's assembling experts all over the world on Korean issues committed to find a solution. And also the fact that this has been assembled under the overall leadership of Ban Ki-moon, it's also a very encouraging signal. I know well Ban Ki-moon is a friend. I know his experience, his competence, his wisdom, his persistence, and of course, the love for his country. All this allows us to be relatively optimistic about the future of this process. And let me conclude with a very sincere word of appreciation for the great work of UPF and Dr. Hakcha Han-moon for their remarkable commitment to peace and reconciliation in the Korean Peninsula. I believe all those that are committed to peace and reconciliation, all those that recognize the imperative of hope, deserve our recognition and our admiration. I thank you all.
Thank you, Excellency, for your visionary support for Mother Moon and the work for peace. 여러분,
Everyone, let us once again give a warm round of applause to His Honorable Rojo for his outstanding efforts for peace and for his valuable remarks on achieving lasting peace throughout the world and in particular the Korean Peninsula. Now, the fourth and the fifth keynote addresses will be given by representatives of the Asia Pacific, and Her Excellency Gloria Arroyo was the 14th President of the Philippines, and His Excellency H.D. Dev Gowda was the first Prime Minister of India. Former President Gloria Arroyo held office as the 14th President of the Philippines from 2000 to 2010. She was praised by her citizens for her efforts toward the peaceful development of her nation. She especially had a special relationship with Reverend Sang Myung-moon and Dr. Hak Cha-han-moon. In 2005, she invited Reverend and Mrs. Moon to the presidential residence Malacanang Palace, where she listened to their peace vision and actively supported the movement to renew the UN. Deeply moved by Dr. Hak Cha-han-moon's peace leadership as a woman, Her Excellency Gloria Arroyo has supported UPF's peace movement to this day, and she's also taking the lead in peace initiatives as a woman leader. And also, His Excellency Dev Gowda served as the first Prime Minister of India. He also served 6 terms in the House of the People until 2019, and today he is a member of the Rajya Sabha, India's upper house. And in 2018, he delivered the keynote address at the Asia Pacific Summit hosted by Dr. Hak Cha-han-moon, and again in 2020 at the World Summit in Korea. His Excellency has been an active supporter of Dr. Hak Cha-han-moon's vision for peace and a heavily unified Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome both Her Excellency Gloria Arroyo and His Excellency Dev Gowda.
In the 3 decades since the end of Russia's occupation of Afghanistan and Vietnam's rule in Cambodia, one cannot record a period of intensifying military confrontation and superpower rivalry in Asia more fractious and potentially explosive than in the past several years. Thankfully, North Korea and South Korea seem to be bucking this trend toward greater fractiousness, with leaders Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in exchanging letters since April and announcing the restoration of several communication channels in July, including a military link demolished by the North last year. 4 drivers of conflict bear close watching and could well be the main sources of global division and war. I cite the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in the Holy Bible as symbols of 4 epoch-spanning forces driving division and confrontation and undermining our overarching vision of worldwide harmony and peace. The first horseman, riding a white steed, wears a crown and wields a sword. Let me dwell on its symbolism of conquest. In the 20th century, the global ideological struggle between the US and the USSR sparked 3 wars in Asia: Korea in 1950 to 1954, Vietnam from 1954 to 1975, and Afghanistan from 1980 to 1989. With the Soviet Union gone and China rising, the Chinese are ensuring that buffer states like North Korea remain close allies. In Korea, that means keeping Pyongyang on best behavior. Thus, Uncle Sam has no reason to boost its military presence in the South. The second horseman rides the red steed of war. Obviously, that is the antithesis of the Universal Peace Federation. This scourge also went global in the last century, with the Second World War and the global Cold War, which has among its fearsome legacies the Korean Peninsula status as perhaps the most militarized land on earth, with 1.6 million troops and among the most fearsome arrays of tanks, artillery, missiles, and warplanes facing off. The third rider, perched upon a black steed, spreads famine and poverty upon the world. In the Korea Peninsula, the specter of hunger in the north can portend both war and peace. On the one hand, crop failures like the one now threatening amid recent widespread flooding could trigger saber rattling and chest thumping against purported foreign aggression to shore up popular support for the national leadership amid mounting social and economic woes. On the other hand, and hopefully this is so today, dire straits can lead Pyongyang to mend fences as a prelude to seeking massive aid. With a growing North-South exchange, food will hopefully flow to the north, clearing the way for more dialogue. The last horseman on the pale mount of death is given its place in the apocalyptic parade to symbolize calamities that can snuff out masses of people in days, hours, or minutes. In the face of the four horsemen of conquest, war, poverty, and death, the imperative for all peace-loving, harmony-building advocates, especially the Universal Peace Federation, is crystal clear. UPF must advance common understanding, purpose, and fraternity among peoples and cultures. Let Korea's example teach the world that peace can thrive if humanity can dream together. Kamsahamnida.
His Excellency Mother Moon, distinguished current and former heads of the state and government, dear global participants of the Rally of Hope, I send you all the greetings and good wishes from the peace-loving Indian citizens for your good health and well-being amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Please stay safe and healthy. I commend the great work of the Universal Peace Foundation throughout the world, promoting the brotherhood and the culture of peace under the gifted leadership of the founder, Mother Moon. While we are participating in the 7th Rally of Hope, the world is still going through the crisis of COVID-19 global pandemic. As we are participating in the Rally of Hope, I join with you all. Keep our hope alive to the better world to come, passing through this unexpected crisis of the century. I extend my solidarity to the think tank of 2022 Global Forum and launch a Asia Pacific think tank secretariat in the collaboration with the Asian Vision Institute based on the Cambodia consisting of the several experts, working groups from a wide range of sectors, government, business, academia, media, religion, and civil society dedicated to exploring the prospects of the peace on the Northeast Asia and as world. I believe that the Rally of Hope series which attached the attention of millions of viewers worldwide will be successful in addressing the critical challenges of our time, promoting constructive dialogue and multilateral cooperation for the sake of peace and human development. May the civil society approach of Think Tank 2022 seek to support the work of government agencies and multilateral organizations dedicated to the promotion of peace on the Korean Peninsula and world.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your speech inspired us and helped us to see a clear vision for Peace Century on Think Tank 2022. 여러분 정말 의미 있고 그리고 감동적인 연설해 주신 우리 글로리아 아로요 전 필리핀 대통령과 데베고다 인도 수상께 다시 한번 감사의 박수를 부탁드리겠습니다. 다음 6번째 그리고 7번째 기조 연설해 주실 분은 동유럽과 그리고 라틴 아메리카의 대표의 세르비아 나타시 미치치 대통령과 트리니다드 토바고 제5대 대통령 앤소니 카르모나 대통령께서 이 기조 연설해 주시도록 하겠습니다. 세르비아의 나타시 미치치 대통령은 재임 기간 동안 발칸 반도에서 오랜 기간 세르비아 독재 정치 타도에 앞장서며 평화의 어머니 한학자 총재님 리더십에 큰 영감을 받아 분쟁 역사가 깊은 발칸에서 항구적 평화가 이루어지려면 반드시 한학자 총재님의 평화 사상을 따라야 한다라고 강조하며 한 총재님의 평화 비전을 적극 지지하며 평화 세계 실현에 앞장서 나가고 계십니다. 아울러 트리니다드 토바고 앤소니 카르모나 대통령은 재임 기간 동안 트리니다드 토바고 물론 중미의 평화를 위한 다양한 활동을 펼쳐나갔으며 특별히 한학자 총재님께서 세계적으로 펼치시는 국가적 차원의 참가적 운동에 고무되어 아주 적극적인 지지를 보내고 계십니다. 여러분, 나타샤 미치치 대통령과 앤소니 카르모나 대통령을 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시면 좋겠습니다.
Distinguished fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Rally of Hope organizer for giving me this opportunity to participate in the work of the Universal Peace Federation. It's very important to support efforts such as these that are being made to make the world a better place. As a result of globalization, the world is becoming more humane. Humanity's sense of interconnectedness is especially important in difficult crisis situations such as during the current pandemic. However, once crises are resolved, our tendency is to revert to mainly looking after our own interests. The global order has also been seriously disrupted in areas where we have failed to overcome the after effects of past conflicts such as on the Korean and Balkan peninsulas. It always seems to me that there are uncanny parallels between the histories of these two peninsulas. Just like Korea, for many hundreds of years, we have been invaded and worked all over by foreign powers, and their influences are present even today. For decades, the peoples of both the Korean and Balkan peninsulas have had to live with crippling tensions in fear of new and escalating conflicts. Today, the struggle for the public interest, which was mostly limited to the efforts of individual states or alliances of states, is increasingly turning into a struggle for what is good for the entire planet, for the global good of humanity as a whole. And that should give us a hope. That is why the contribution of each nation, of each NGO, of each government is
to be relentless in our mission to culture peace globally. I thank you.
Your Excellencies, thank you for your support for Think Tank 2022 and the Heavenly Unified Korea. 여러분, 자국과
Everyone, let
소속
us
대륙과는
send a warm
무관하지만
round of applause to
한반도의 평화, 통일, 신통일 한국에 대한 순수한 마음으로 지지하고 그 비전의 성취를 염원해 주신 우리 귀한 연설을 통해서 지지해 주신 우리 나타샤 미치치 대통령과 앤소니 카르마노 대통령께 다시 한번 여러분 큰 감사의 박수를 보내주시면 좋겠습니다. 다음은 두 번째 평화 공연의 순서입니다. 대한민국을 대표하는 세계적 어린이 문화예술단 리틀 엔젤스가 준비했습니다. 1962년 문선명 한학자 총재님 양이분에 의해 창단된 리틀 엔젤스는 대한민국의 아름다움과 그리고 한민족의 평화의 정신을 세계에 전파하기 위해 다양한 문화예술 활동을 통해 정말로 민간 외교에서 아주 큰 역할을 담당하고 있습니다. 특별히 신통일 한국을 위해 대한민국 정부와 함께 수많은 공연들 개최했고 한학자 총재님과 함께 전 세계를 순회하며 많은 해외 공연도 개최하였습니다. 오늘 무대에서는 싱크탱크 2020 희망전진대회 성공적 기원과 함께 신통일 한국을 기원하며 진새놀이와 그리고 부채춤을 준비했다고 합니다. 여러분 큰 박수로 우리 어린이 예술단 어린이 천사 우리 리틀 엔젤스를 모셔주시면 좋겠습니다.
Welcome the little angels with a warm round of applause.
정말 멋지고 그리고 아름다운 공연을
Everyone,
통해서 신통일
once
한국의
again, let us give
성취의
a
비전을
big
보여준 우리
round of
리틀
applause to
엔젤스에게
the
다시
little angels for
한번
giving us
큰
such an
박수를
elegant,
보내주시면
beautiful
좋겠습니다.
performance.
존경하는 각국 정상 및 그리고
heads
평화를
of
사랑하는
states
평화
and
지도자 여러분,
leaders who love
이제
peace,
오늘 희망전진
now
대회의
time to
주최자이신
listen to a
한학자
special message
총재님,
from
평화의
Dr.
어머니
Hakcha
참
Hanwon,
어머님을
the host
모시고
of the
특별
Rally of
연설을
Hope,
듣는
the true
시간을
mother
갖도록
and
하겠습니다.
mother of peace.
한학자
Dr.
총재님께서는
Hakcha
일생을
Hanwon
통해
has lived a life
항구적인
of
세계
true
평화를
love
위해
and devotion
참사랑의
to the
헌신의
cause of
삶을
lasting
살아오셨습니다.
world peace.
항구적 평화
Her
이상 세계
lifelong
실현을 위한
determination for realizing a
총재님의
world of
사생결단,
permanent peace,
전력
her
투구의
life
헌신적
of
삶은
all-out effort
국경,
transcending
인종,
borders,
종교를 넘어
races,
수많은
and religions
정치,
has led
종교
many
지도자들에게
political
평화의
and
어머니로
religious leaders to
불리움
refer to
받게
her
되셨습니다.
as the mother
여러분,
of peace.
평화의 어머니 한학자 총재님,
Everyone,
참 어머님을 모시도록
all
하겠습니다. 모두
welcome the
자리에서
mother of
일어나
peace, the true
한학자
mother,
총재님을
Dr. Hakcha
환영해
Hanwon.
주시면
Please rise from
좋겠습니다.
your seats and let us all welcome Dr. Hakcha Hanwon.
한국의 평화 세계와 한반도의 평화 실현을 위해 지난 5월 9일 싱크탱크 2021을 발족하시고 정치, 경제, 종교, 문화, 예술, 언론 등 전방위적 분야에서 신통일 한국의 평화 비전을 제시하고 오늘 싱크탱크 2021을 중심으로 첫 번째 희망전진 대회를 위한 귀한 특별 연설을 해주시기 위해 입장하신 한학자 총재님께 여러분 다시 한번 뜨거운 감사의 박수를 부탁드리겠습니다. 이제 한학자 총재님께서 특별 연설을 해주시도록 하겠습니다. 모두 자리에 착석하시겠습니다.
평화를 염원하는 전
Beloved
세계
heads of state
지도자,
who yearn for
특히
peace, in particular
싱크탱크
with relations
2022에
to Think Tank
참석하시어
2022, I would like to
최고의
recognize
정상으로서
as the
7분의
great
기저연설을
and as a
참으로
model head of state, not just the 7 speakers who have
의미
come before,
깊게
but also
감사한 마음으로
His Excellency
경청했습니다.
Samdech Hun Sen. I have listened to all of the previous speakers with a heart of
이 시대가
gratitude.
바라는
And today in this
하늘
era,
섭리의 완성을 위해서
we have come to an important time, a
하늘이
time to
수고한
realize heaven's providence.
역사 가운데
And throughout human
여러분들이
history,
선택을 받은 입장에서
you have been specially chosen by heaven
세계 평화와 신통일 한국을 염원하는
the heavenly unified Korea and the realization of world peace.
하늘이
There is a
함께하고
profound
있음을
meaning.
알아야 할 것입니다.
You need to understand that heaven is working with
창조주
you.
하나님은
God the Creator
인류의
is
우리의
our
하늘 부모님이십니다.
heavenly parent.
어떻게 자녀되는 인류가
How is it
하늘
possible
부모님 앞으로
that
나아갈 수
humanity,
없는
which stands in the
환경이
position of
되어버린
children before
오늘의
the heavenly
현상입니다.
parent, these children
그래서
cannot
나는 오늘
freely return to the bosom of
하늘
the
섭리로
parent,
본
the heavenly creator. That is why today
근세
I would like
인류 문명사와
to speak about
오늘이라는
the
제목으로 말씀을
recent
하고자 합니다.
history of the providence and today.
타락 이후
Following the
하늘이
human fall,
수고하시사
heaven worked tirelessly
2000년 전에
and
이스라엘 민족을
2000 years ago
통해서
through the people
예수
of Israel,
그리스도를 보내주셨습니다.
Jesus Christ came on
그는
the earth
인류의
and
참
Christ
조상입니다.
came as a true ancestor for
메시아입니다.
humanity, a Messiah.
그러나
However,
안타깝게도
unfortunately,
그를 탄생시킨 마리아,
Mary, who gave birth to Jesus,
유대교, 이스라엘 민족은
the people
참
of the time, the
주인을
Jewish leaders of the
몰라봤습니다.
time, and the people
그들이
in the
환경권이
vicinity of
되어서
Jesus did not recognize the true owner.
예수님께서는
They did not
참
become an
부모
environment
자리에 나아갈 수
where
있어야
Jesus could
했습니다.
ascend to the position of
그러나
parent.
그리 되지
However,
못하여
they could not
십자가에
form a
돌아가시며
foundation of support
다시
for Jesus,
오마했습니다.
and having
다시
no
와서는
foundation to stand,
어린 양
Jesus
잔치를
walked
하겠다
the path
하였습니다.
of the cross and prophesied that he would come again to host the marriage wedding of the Lamb.
예수님의 제자들과
The apostles
사도들에
of
의해서
Jesus and
기독교가
his
출발을 보게 됩니다.
followers worked to begin
초기에
Christianity. In the early days of the church,
이루 말할 수 없는
unspeakable
핍박을 받았습니다.
persecution had to be endured.
300년이 지나서 로마에 공헌되며
After 300
이태리
years,
반도를 중심하고
centering
기독교가
on
출발을 하게
being
됩니다.
recognized by the Roman Empire, Christianity expanded
유럽
throughout
대륙을
the
거쳐
Roman Empire,
영국
going
섬나라까지 가
beyond continental Europe,
영국을
reaching the
통해서
British Isles, and
대서양
through
문명권 시대를
Great Britain,
열었습니다.
a new era of the great
세계로
Atlantic civilization
나아갔습니다.
began. Christianity
그러나
expanded to the world.
그들은
However,
예수님의 본질을
they
몰랐습니다.
could not understand the true essence
더더구나
of Jesus. In
창조주 하나님이
particular, they did
어떤
not
분이신지도
understand truly
몰랐습니다.
who is God the Creator.
어떻게
How
기독교 문명권 안에서
is it possible that within the Christian cultural
많은
realm,
나라들의
many
갈등과
nations
전쟁이 일어나게 됩니다.
endured conflict and wars?
2차 대전 말에는
At the end of the Second World War,
민주화 공산으로
due to the division between democracy and communism,
한반도는
the Korean Peninsula
남과 북으로
was divided
갈라졌습니다.
into North and South.
하늘의 섭리는 멈출 수가 없었습니다.
Providence of heaven could not stop.
이스라엘 민족을 통해서 섭리를
And
하시고자 하셨던
The
하늘의
providence
역사는
that heaven wished to accomplish through the people of Israel
그들이 책임 못함으로 말미암아
was
그들에게는
frustrated, and because
탕감이
of
남아있기
the
때문에
failure to accomplish heaven's will, great
하늘은
indemnity was paid.
독생녀를 탄생시킬 수 있는 나라를 선택하셨습니다.
And heaven raised a nation
그것이
where the only begotten daughter would be born.
2000년 전부터
And
수천 년을 거쳐
this
하늘이 보호하고 축복한
was possible because
나라가
heaven protected
한민족입니다.
and blessed the nation of the Korean people.
한국은 전쟁을 싫어했으며
Korea was a nation that did not like war. They were a
무엇보다도
people recognized
중요시 여기며
that
숭배했습니다.
really revered
그리고
heaven
부모를
and
공경하고
respected
조상을
parents,
공경하는
respected
나라로 알려져
ancestors.
있습니다.
Korea is known as a nation that
지금도
respects and honors
3대가
ancestors.
한
And even
가족에서
now in Korea, you can see many
평화로운
families
삶을
of 3
살고
generations living
있습니다.
together.
1945년에 이 나라가 해방이 됐습니다.
In 1945, Korea was liberated.
1950년에
And
이 나라에
in
동란이
1950,
일어났습니다.
the Korean War erupted.
이 한민족을 통해서
And through the
기독교 기반
people of
안에서
Korea, within the Christian
1943년에
foundation,
독생녀가
in
탄생됩니다.
1943, the only begotten daughter was born.
어찌하여
How is it possible
세계에 알려지지 않은 작은 나라
that a nation, a small nation unknown to the world, how is it possible that 16 UN member nations mobilized together
이 나라의
to come and
민주주의를
defend
지켜주었을까요?
democracy in this nation?
이는
This
인간의 힘이 아닌
is not possible with human
하늘이
effort.
보호하사입니다.
It is because heaven protected this nation.
창조주께서는 천지 만물을 창조하시고
God created heaven and earth,
시조를 창조한
and
후에
after
인간에게는
creating the first human
성장
ancestors,
기간이라는
God gave
시간을
them a
주셨습니다.
period of growth.
인간이
And
아름답고 건강하게
the hope of the
완성하여
Creator was for humanity to grow beautifully,
부모님의
reach
축복을
perfection,
받는 그 자리가
become fruitful, and receive the blessing of
창조주께서
heaven.
지상에서
This was
함께 하려 하셨습니다.
the ideal that God wished to accomplish.
그 꿈을 이룰 수 있는 마지막
And in order to
6-7년 만에
realize this dream,
재림
for the
메시아가
first
다시
time,
오마한
the
메시아
returning
앞에
Messiah would
독생자가
return, and
탄생함으로
before this
말미암아
returning Messiah, the only begotten daughter would appear, and
참 부모
through
자리에
the only begotten
나아갈
daughter,
수 있게 됩니다.
the advent of true parents would be
과거
realized.
2000년 전
2,000 years ago,
예수님 때는
during the time of Jesus,
유대교와 이스라엘 민족이 기반이 되지 못해서
the Jewish leaders of the time and the people of the time could not embrace Jesus, and he walked the path of the cross. And those who failed in their responsibility paid tremendous indemnity. We are aware of the tremendous indemnity that was paid. Now, the time has come for Korea to fulfill its responsibility. Heaven
이 민족을 통해서
wishes through the people of Korea
세계를 품고자
to
하십니다.
embrace the world.
그 예가
For example,
100년 전
100 years ago,
인도의 시성 타고리
Rabindranath Tagore of
한국이
India,
가장 어려울 때에
at the time when Korea was suffering the most, Rabindranath Tagore
불을 다시 한번 켜지는 날에
mentioned that on the day that the light will shine again on Korea, Korea will become the light of the East.
등불은 무엇을 말합니까?
What does the light symbolize?
진리를 말합니다.
It symbolizes the truth.
어둠을 밝히는 진리입니다.
It is the truth that lights in the darkness.
참 말씀입니다.
It is the true word.
이 말씀으로
And through the word, the people of Korea can unite as one. And through the word,
특히
in particular,
나는
I,
2019년에
in 2019,
오사카에서
in Osaka,
태평양 평화 유니언
I
자서를
suggested
발표했습니다.
the launch of the Asia-Pacific Union.
그 후
Thereafter,
나라들이
many nations
동참한 가운데
are supporting this initiative. In particular, in Cambodia, Samdech Hun Sen is very supportive of this suggestion,
이번에
and this time
역사적인
we are honored to have his participation in this historic rally of hope, and also we are launching the historic Asia Pacific Secretariat, and they have the launching of the Asia Pacific Secretariat of Think Tank 2022. And this is not possible just with human effort. We can see that heaven is working together with us. And heaven's providence is marching towards the perfection, the realization of the providence. And that is why, while true parents are alive on this earth, we need to realize the kingdom of heaven on earth, open wide the gates of the kingdom of heaven on earth at this time. And all the nations around the world participating in this initiative are invited to recognize that heaven's blessings are upon us. And from a long time ago, this propitious time of the realization of the providence is upon us. And I want to recognize all of you as the righteous leaders raised by heaven. True parents in particular and Family Federation had to begin from the humblest of positions because Christianity in Korea did not support us. We did our best, and for the past 60 years, we initiated the True Family Values movement, and we have multiplied blessed families all around the world. With one person taking on this tremendous task, it is not enough time for one person to accomplish this. But if those who received the blessing can also take on this task and fulfill their responsibilities, then unexpected, miraculous things will happen. For example,
아직 이 나라가
this nation
하늘 부모님의 뜻을
still
받드는 정치는 아닙니다.
has not reached the level of maturity in terms of politics where the politics of Korea reflect heaven's will. However, in the name of true mother, the only begotten daughter,
2013년 이후 7년간
following 2013 for 7 years,
7개국 나라를 복귀한 터위에
on the foundation of restoring 7 nations and 7 religious denominations, on the position of having accomplished continental restoration, I proclaimed the firm establishment of 천일국. This is what heaven has been yearning for. It is what humanity yearns for. 천일국 is the nation where we are all one family under the heavenly parent. Today, when we look at all the unspeakable challenges and difficulties happening around the world, we can see many catastrophes and calamities happening. Furthermore, due to human ignorance, many natural cataclysms are happening and many innocent lives are being sacrificed. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic has been ongoing for over a year, and is disrupting the unity among peoples around the world. From now on, for the past 60 years, true parents began humbly in Korea. And in particular, America was raised by heaven to be a foundation for the returning Messiah. And for 400 years, God blessed America. However, those who could not understand the providence could not, and many challenges arose, and God the world. And because true parents understood the importance of America in God's providence, for true parents invested everything so that America could fulfill its mission and fulfill its responsibility before Heavenly Parent as the eldest son nation. For 40 years, true parents have continuously blessed America. Beginning on the Korean Peninsula, a new culture of the Pacific Rim civilization will expand throughout Asia and around the world. And this culture of peace is vividly and actively expanding throughout the world. And contrary to the era of the great Atlantic civilization, in the era of the Pacific Rim civilization, it will be characterized by interdependence, mutual prosperity, universal values. It will bring together leaders, peace-loving citizens, religious leaders, and peace associates. Peace-loving citizens and leaders are coming together and participating in this initiative. I would like to once again warn this nation of Korea. Please do not look at the shadows. Lift high your gaze and look upon heaven and accept heaven's will. I hope that all of the political leaders of Korea can understand that for Korea to prosper, it needs to recognize heaven's will. This nation cannot be a secular nation that is only focused on human interests. It must become a nation that attends God as the heavenly parent. Not just political leaders, all of the people in this nation must become peace associates and attend God, the heavenly parent, as blessed families. I hope that they can become filial sons and daughters and fulfill their responsibility, becoming blessed families, and also lead the realization of the Pacific civilization of peace to the corners of the world. We must not forget heaven's tireless work. We must be grateful for the great blessings that Korea has received from heaven. Let us attend heaven. Let us march and let us live lives that accord with heaven's will. Let us realize one cosmic family of humanity under the heavenly parent.
Everyone, let us give another round of applause to Dr. Hak Jae-hanmun, a true mother, for her precious message. Today, through her special message, we're able again to fully understand and again recognize the need to really bring about the realization of heavenly unified Korea and a heavenly unified world. And once more, everyone, please send again. Let us express our gratitude and resolution to really bring about a heavenly unified world and a heavenly unified Korea with a warm round of applause to Dr. Hak Jae-hanmun, everyone. At this time, we'll actually be holding the inauguration ceremony for the Korean Peninsula Peace Summit Organizing Committee, which is being prepared in commemoration of the 30th anniversary of Dr. Hak Jae-hanmun, our husband's visit to North Korea, and so as to create a foundation for the realization of heavenly unified Korea. Dr. Thomas Walsh, Chairman of Universal Peace Federation, will preside over this section.
शुमाली और जनूबी कोरिया को करीब लाने का मिशन है। यूनिवर्सल पीस फेडरेशन की 7वीं रैली ऑफ होप जारी है।